Call the school board meeting to order of October 7th. Joe, a roll call, please.
Fiona is absent. Dick?
I'm here.
John?
Here.
Ward is absent. Jennifer?
Here.
I'm here. Jim is absent as well, but we do have one.
Proof of notice.
As listed in the agenda.
Approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Joe,
Second.
second by Jenny. Any questions on the agenda?
My only question is if moving forward, do we need to differentiate, or excuse me, not the agenda, I'm talking about the next meeting, forget it.
Any other questions? Joe?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 403. Citizens' comments. Approval of minutes of the previous meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Joe,
Second.
seconded by Dick.
This was my question.
Any questions?
Now that there are two Finks on the board, do we need to differentiate that in the
Sure.
note?
I think we should probably, so we can get
Otherwise,
initial.
50-50 chance.
I know.
Sure.
And it didn't really matter on this one, but
Any other questions?
You just put J.
yeah, okay.
Okay, good catch.
I thought I was like voting twice on things, and then I
Oh, yeah.
remembered.
Joe?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried 403. Okay, no, looks like no FF, or yeah, the FFA is here. Over on the side. FFA report.
Alright, so last month we had our sectional leadership.
Give your name.
Your name.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Stacia Harmon, the Mayville FFA president. Last month we had the sectional leadership workshop in Watertown where the officers go to and they work on their leadership skills and like public speaking and stuff. And then last week we had Real Dairy Expo and our animal selection committee. And during the animal selection committee we like lead cows around, like they're really high priced, like really good cows or whatever, and they judge them and then we take them back to their owners if they make it into like where they go around the arena or not. And we did corn stalks on Main Street, and then upcoming events, we have the Broughton Burger Fry on October 12th from 10 to 1 by Napa this Saturday, and then we have National Convention coming up on October 29th through November 2nd, and then our 212-360 conference where two officers go to, mainly the president and vice president usually, on November 15th through the 16th with our food sale, and then we have our LDE practices coming up, which is like our speaking contest. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Stacy.
Busy.
No student council report?
No, they'd like to come.
Okay, oh, sure. Which is this week?
Yeah.
Any communications?
I have now, John.
Okay. We have resolution 1920-70, approval of regular semi-monthly bills.
So moved.
Motion by Joe, seconded by
I'll second.
Jim. Questions on the bills?
Only one comment I gotta make. We had to pay something back for laced on the insurance, and boy, that really shows you what it costs per month per person for insurance.
Yeah. Any other questions? Hearing none. Joe?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried 403. Committee reports, buildings and grounds,
Ooh.
Mr. Fink.
That's why I was hoping Travis was here. I usually get out of it then. And we're at purchasing a van. We always had a van for years, and I guess now with special ed, there's more of a need for it than ever. And I think the funding of it is coming through special ed, correct?
Do flow through.
So it's one of those things where we needed more than ever now.
Yeah, so the committee met last week Friday, so the minutes will be at the next, I wasn't in my office today to type anything up. So the minutes will be at the next board meeting. So pretty much, committee met, there were 2 out of 3 representatives. They looked at the van bids, and all of those are in the packet now, linked up. The best, most competitive one came from Ewald out of Oconomowoc. They took the deepest discount, so that was a recommendation. So it's all through the state plan is what I'll use for my terms. It's apples to apples as far as vehicles. It is a vehicle on the lot. So the one recommended is gray, not red, but that seems to be a new color for Mayville anyways, so that's okay.
I
We
didn't
took
know
one
we
with
were gonna be
leftover.
this short of people on the board. I'm a little concerned. I'd rather abstain from that vote.
Oh. So the one thing I would say, I think that's okay. There are some things that we would have to have
Well, it would
quorum of
be
the whole board,
quorum of
so I think
whole.
we're okay for the purchase of a van, so you could do that.
Alright.
So, the other part is we talked about, it wasn't an action item, we talked about the roof at, the high school auditorium, and we believe it is hail damage, and we have 3, quotes out there. We're still waiting to get a third, so that was a discussion item that occurred, and, we believe that'll be covered by insurance then. And we've already contacted our insurance provider. They believe that'll be part of one claim. We've already had a claim associated with Parkview. So all that was very good news to us. On top of it, the scope of the cost of that project also was less than we had anticipated the cost too. So we're still waiting for a third quote, right? So I'll just keep it as a topic, like, hey, we discussed that, we're waiting for more information. We'll go back to the B&G committee, and hopefully that'll get done this fall.
Right. The thing is though, if they do come back and they need to have it done before the end of this month, or, right now, I know Badgerland has time, they were the low bid, okay, and they have time now.
The good news is we have multiple meetings coming up here.
Oh, yeah, as far as, oh, that's right, the end of, we could run it along with the October, okay,
Right.
very good.
2 more meetings coming up in the month of October.
Very good.
So-
So we'll get that together.
All right, so that was the gist of the conversation.
Right,
and
did everybody look at the bids? There was quite a difference, it was like $7,000. And Ewald, that's what they do, because the county buys everything through Ewald, and they do the municipal bids. And this was probably one that was, they ordered an extra one. Or otherwise, we'd have to wait till March into June, depending on when they're delivered them.
So bids for any vehicle coming in now, right? Is it for future, for next year?
Right, you'd have to bid, and then
Wait till
they're
next
built
March.
all at one time. In order to get a good
Right,
rate, they
right.
build all the stripped down models in March
Like a
or something
fleet
like that.
discount.
Yeah, it's a fleet discount.
Yeah. You know about that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, that'll be coming, that's all in my report.
Thank you, Dick.
Oh, there was one more thing. Me and John did go down to the
I was gonna
warehouse.
bring that, I was gonna bring
Sure,
that.
bring it up later on then, because it's,
Yeah.
that's a new item and, okay, great.
Okay, administrative report.
All right. Tonight, Becky's not here, she's up sick. She did give me, share with me a presentation, so I'll pull that up in just a moment here. I just want to share a couple things. One, we had a great turnout for our grand opening at the high school, so that was on Wednesday, September 20th. Thank you to all the board members that came. I know I saw Jenny in the audience too.
I was very briefly, I had to
Yeah, you
leave
were
and go
there.
somewhere else, but I stopped in.
Yeah, so really appreciate it. Thanks to our community members that were there too. Press was there, it was great. So we had an awesome turnout. We think we had over 300 people come.
Wow.
The feedback was all very positive, and I think what's great is just to have so many, there's taxpayers and alumni, community members that were there. So our parents are naturally getting access to the building, but there were many people that I never met before that were there that night, which was awesome. So that was the whole purpose of the event. So one, I think people had a lot of fun. It was great for the district staff, and awesome to see so many different faces in the building that other times we just wouldn't. So that was cool. We had our district in service last week, Monday, And here's a picture that in the presentation that Becky just naturally had part of hers. So the in-service for us, we're trying to have kind of a set schedule, just like students do. So now that we have a monthly opportunity, so we're gonna start every morning with some celebrations and reflections. We have our kindness challenge that's out there. Monthly, we asked the staff to reflect. We got some great feedback from them, positive things to reflect. So we shared that with the staff then during that time, and just reflected the start of the school year. Then we had some learning in a whole group. We watched a video about innovation and risk-taking in schools and what our best practices learned from 60 different school districts in the United States of America. It was a TED Talk, and it was really neat. So we shared that, and then we had a follow-up activity. And what we're seeing up on the screen was the staff were asked to, they had 10 minutes, which seemed like a lot of time, but it really wasn't. So 10 minutes to walk through a sheet of paper. They had to work with a partner and figure out how you would walk through this sheet of paper. So they had a lot of creative ideas. There was really one way to do it, actually. So you can see right here, it looks like this team was able to, they created a chain, like a large loop. And it's just through tearing, so they couldn't use scissors or anything. They had to tear it, but keep it in one continuous loop. So we didn't tell them the answer, just some figured it out, some floundered, and some came up with some very creative ideas. But it was about innovation. It was about working through those obstacles, and it was a safe environment to do that. So we played some music, had some fun, and then we went on to talk about our assessment practices. We spent the morning kind of shoring up our formative and summative language that we share from teacher to teacher, and the beliefs and the weights on how much formative is actually impacted in a grade. So formative is to inform the teacher how the students are doing. But a lot of times homework used to get a grade. Homework, who did that homework that night? You know, so those are kind of conversations that we had. And the goal is to really work on the K-5 alignment, 6-12 alignment. And then we went on to talk about reassessment beliefs. So we have done a great job behind the scenes of putting together our proficiency targets, our standards. This is what we want our kids to know and be able to do. And we're working on aligning those in the K-12 model. With that comes if that's what you want, and we're pulling out behaviors. So Lee has in his some of his discussion tonight to talk about cardinal scores. Cardinal scores are the responsible, respectful, and safe. We're actually giving that a score so parents can just get feedback about how things are going as related to responsible, respectful, and safe. And the grades themselves are supposed to be pulling that out, and it truly is supposed to be, in the big picture, our goals are, it's about what your student knows and is able to do by that time of that progress report or that report card. So with that, reassessment practices are very important. So you took a test, you had an F, you have an opportunity to retake the test. Was that full credit, partial credit? How many times can you retake a test? So we're pulling together our district-wide beliefs, and we had a conversation about that and had some follow-up things to do. And really our goal is that this work we're doing is for 2020, the fall of 2020, and building our capacity and getting alignment this year. In the meantime, we're starting to figure out where we're already tight, where are we already together. And if those are places we're already together now, well, let's just keep moving that. Other places where we're far apart, which really wasn't anywhere, actually it was more of a understanding among staff rather than, oh, we're far apart in our practices. So, but if those are, then that's where PD, that's where support needs to be provided. So when we do get to 2020, where it's full launch, it's not a false start. So great conversations there. We spent the morning with that. The afternoon was about math and literacy training, as well as focus on vertical team time. So last year, we realized it's this K-12 alignment piece. We just didn't have a lot of time in the schedule. One of the biggest drivers behind this year's schedule of PD was to support that initiative, was to make sure our teachers had time to collaborate so that we can kind of, it's about guarantee viable curriculum. We're doing this together in that alignment. So everything we talked about is alignment, alignment, alignment. So a lot of positive feedback about the model, and we believe that that's probably going to be the model that we follow through once a month, and our in-service it'll look like that. So in a different world, at the district office level, our HR payroll position she accepted a job as a comptroller in a nearby school district, so she received a promotion, which is awesome. So now we have a vacancy in that role. We have reached out to CISA 6 as far as contracting out payroll, so that's something we believe might be a good model for us. Right now, though, we're in the investigatory mode. We're checking things out, looking at our options, and we're really trying to figure out what are our opportunities for some consolidation of duties. Is there any budget savings opportunities here? When you see the budget tonight, like anything we can do to try to save money, we're interested in that. So we do believe we will have a vacancy, but we're going to take some time to try to figure out exactly what that is. So upcoming events, I just heard we've got homecoming this week, so homecoming parade on Friday, football game. There's a lot of events. I'm sure we will probably be speaking to those. The first PAC meeting, that is the legislative breakfast for Mayville School District with CISA 6. So CISA 6 is our consortium of support, and they started a legislative breakfast in January where we have a chance to meet with local representatives, and they get it's feedback back and forth about education and what's happening at the state level. Well, right now, a lot's happening at the state level when it comes to school funding and different bills that are out there. So it's a good thing to kind of pay attention to what's happening. And after this meeting that we have on the PAC, I'll probably have some resources unpacked to share with you as far as what's currently going on. So the PAC, that is actually the superintendents come together once a month at CISA 6, which the headquarters are in Oshkosh. And then the legislative breakfast gets added onto that in January. So there's once a month meetings. Our board meeting, the next board meeting is the 21st. Coming up here, we're going to have to start having more closed sessions about compensation for the teachers and looking at compensation models. So be prepared for some additional late nights, possibly. We'll see. And then the annual meeting is set for October 28th at 6 o'clock with the special board meeting afterwards to approve the levy. So there'll be an annual meeting, budget hearing, and then a separate meeting to approve the levy. So it'll all go back to back, but just important to get that on the calendar. And we did verify the publications that need to be in the newspaper. And what's interesting, looking at changes, like it looks, well, to me, my perception was that this isn't even required to be in the paper anymore. Put it in 3 spots and you're all set. We're putting it in the paper. No worries. I just think that there are changes in legislation right now that are still getting to, hey, just post it in those 3 places and you're good to go. And for us, we believe in our community, put it in the paper. So I just noticed that. There's some changes coming.
There was even the minutes of he disappearing from the papers too.
Yep. So with that, I want to do right by Becky. She had some pictures here to share. So I believe she already had highlighted some of the new playground equipment at Parkview. This is probably the most popular one right here. It's a merry-go-round that everybody can just sit in easily without feeling like they're getting thrown out. And you can tell it's popular based upon the rut that's all the way around it.
Scott, I see a picture of Rising Waters. Is
That's
there any
coming
way the
next.
school district can come up with a plan for
We're working on
the
it.
next one, at least a check
So
our schools during
Yes.
those times?
So, help me, to check the buildings when the
I'm
rain
talking to
is
check the
coming?
buildings, that's correct. So,
Yeah. Really, you're talking about Parkview, because other two.
But that's it.
Yeah.
That's literally it.
Sure.
Because you go by the high school and stuff, there was no flooding, but in Parkview.
That would be expectation to give to our B&G director, that, hey, when we're getting that kind of rain, just put it in.
They had it figured out 40
check it
years
out.
ago what to do, but
So at Parkview, obviously the water was very high. So you can see it on the picture there. And it was not near the building at a level of concern. And the last time we learned that we cannot actually divert the water into the river. I did follow up again, and it wasn't cobwebs in my brain. It's accurate.
It wasn't.
So they
It's
really
100%
do
accurate.
not
We
want
can't
us
put
to.
a wall, anything.
We're gonna-
Barriers
we're gonna-
right there, right next to the playground.
We have to go all the way through that. That's
I'm
the
not
deal.
talking you'd have
Because
to
the
go all
water
way
comes
through.
around.
I'm talking Because then it would go into the parking lot.
Yeah, we have to wall in our playground.
That's
what
what
we
I'm
have to
talking
do.
about.
Yeah.
It's just one wall.
We're gonna look at our options for sure. So, that event happened.
I'm okay with flooding the park.
So, yeah, the back parking lot.
No,
Flood the
I'm okay
back.
with that.
So what did
I'm okay
happen
with the
though,
building.
we're trying to figure out the cost with it, the pumps for the pond, the water got so high,
Correct.
the air that goes into the pump in order to get it to work, they're all fried. So there's 4 pumps that have to get replaced.
Well, it's still spring fed, that's the other issue, so no
Right.
matter what, it's spring fed.
So we're trying to figure out what the cost of that is, so I don't, is it an insurance claim or not? If it's minor, it's not, so we'll see. It would be a separate insurance claim because it's not part of hail damage,
It's
right?
nothing minor in that.
So we'll find out, so still, stay tuned on that, but we did, and the mulch absolutely was impacted. I spoke to somebody, they think as long as it has a chance to air out, it's probably okay. We still want a deeper level of investigation to go along with
We
it.
had checked it.
Yeah, because unless you got
Over the years, we had it
can't
tested.
tell where the water's going.
No different than it is any other time when it rains.
Yeah, so I think the mulch is okay, but the pumps in the pond are not working, so we do have to get those fixed.
So is that, the pond is school district or city?
Yeah,
It's
it's
the
school
school
district.
district, the city services.
Okay, thank you.
For how much, a buck?
No.
$1 could be your
Shouldn't have
pond.
taken that deal.
My kids didn't want the pond,
No, I
so.
would've.
That came,
Not taking
that
that
came
deal.
along with the,
Well, that came.
The land,
The
the
land, I
yeah.
know, so.
Okay.
So this is our school counselor. Becky shared this as just a neat picture and artwork that's up on the wall at Parkview. It's learning to fly, the encouraged to fly. So each feather was created by Parkview students in their guidance class. So our social emotional learning curriculum at Parkview is supported by our school counselor. So seconds there. So that's cute. And then just with our new math adoption, I know that our building, our Parkview building is very excited. The teachers are very excited about the language that students are using about math and just very optimistic. So I'm sure on a regular basis, Becky's gonna come and talk about the math implementation and just the positive feedback that we're getting. So the math and munchies for the K-5 piece, so Stacy Walworth, I believe she led that and coordinated that. And I think what's gonna happen is probably mid-year, we're gonna have the math teachers come and talk about their experiences and probably get out there, do a survey and just kind of state of the state of how things are going. So we adopted Bridges as our K-5 math model, and it's all I've got is positive on that, so that's all I can share. So Becky shared this with me, and no narrative to go with it, so that's what you guys got tonight. All right, so we'll pass it.
all right. Who wants to go next? Bob or Lee?
Well, we go in order if you need. Couple of things, I think I have some slides up there too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just to share a couple of the results of the programs that I talked about at a previous board meeting. So,
It's all the way down.
here we go. So I talked about a reading challenge, and this was overseen by Roxanne Walker, staff member in our building, who supports reading and literacy as a professional interventionist. And the challenge was to read as many books as you can, and so the numbers are up there, and if you add them all up, our students read a lot of books in this past month, and there'll be a new challenge for next month. And what the kids had earned is an extra recess for having those books read, and each of those books on each of those shelves or pieces of paper represents the title of the book that a student had read, and we didn't put enough shelves up for some of our classrooms, and I think it's just a great way to show how much our kids are reading just since the start of the school year. Reading is very, it's fundamental to school success, and we certainly are promoting that at the middle school. So, next.
What did the top say?
Top where?
This part over here.
I can't
Something
read that off.
read.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. And I talked about dot date, and it's make your mark in each of our students after a
assembly went off with their homerooms, and each of them made a dot, and Mrs. Haney took the time to put all the dots up. And on our main hallway across from